Hi, I'm doing a little work with separation of duties or segregation of duties, and I've got a little project that I'm doing right now that I'm trying to work out. And I'm trying to see if financial type users have the ability to make or start a transaction and approve their own transaction or potentially have segregation of duties issues. So I've got a data set that's basically what I would consider normal for a bank or another large company to have for identity access management, and that will have applications with entitlements, HR data, things like that for their users. But I want to go in here and show you kind of what data sets are available first. So the easiest thing to do is just ask Logic itself what data sets are available for this project. And we'll take a look at that really fast so you can see, kind of what is actually there. The info button up here, which I just showed you, does have the list, but this will give us a little bit more information. So it's going to go through and look at the data sets and trying to figure out what kinds of data we have available for this project to work with. And there you have it. We have about 18 data sets showing 1 through 10 now of the data sets. You can see we've got active entitlements. It kind of gives you the descriptions and the key columns and the purpose, authentication log, and activities. We have the entitlements for all of these applications. We have HR events, terminations, hires, etc. We have HR data, names, managers. We have entitlements created. And let's see what else we have here. We have remove, revoke, and we have more application entitlements here. We also have IP addresses for our network. We have some reference packs, and we have some asset information about the applications like RTO, RPO levels, and then we have some VPN log activity for some reason in here. And what I'm wanting to ask is basically that if I'm an auditor and I'm looking for segregation of duties issues with my entitlements regarding the ability to create financial transactions and approve them, I'm going to want to type a query in. I'm going to pause this so you don't have to watch me type this, but it's going to be a pretty long query that's very specific for that. Okay, fast forwarded to this, and here's what it says. So I'm an auditor looking for segregation of duties with entitlements regarding the ability to create financial transactions and potentially approve them. And this can be inside the same application or cross applications, and I want it to help me solve this using entitlement data sets in the project. Okay, this will probably take about, between 45 seconds and maybe a full minute. And what it's doing is it's not sending your data to the LLM. It's actually looking at all of these information data sets that it knows about in the project. And it's reasoning through that, and it's coming up with a methodology, a way to approach the problem. And what it's going to do for you is it's going to come up with a plan. It's going to write machine code, probably SQL query for this, that will go and try to understand and figure out how to answer the question that we had there. The challenge that I gave it was to do that, and it's going to come up with machine code, and it's going to come up with a very deterministic model in how it's going to approach it. And we have the ability to see how it comes up with that and validate, verify everything with this methodology. And we also get to see the results as you see here. And it took about 1 minute and 3 seconds. So here you go. It's pretty cool, right? So what it's doing is, if you look, it's basically taking a look at the financial entitlements. It's going across several data sets. And, I'm not going to read all this to you, but you can see it's pretty complex. This is one big SQL, a bunch of parts of SQL queries put together as one big SQL. And here are the results. It's saying for this ID, Edward McMillan, he's a business branch manager, level 2 within this application. And he can create wire transfers up to $75 million. And he also has the ability to verify or approve wire transfers, right? So he can create and verify within the same application. And that's a SOD application violation. So it looks like we have a bunch of people in various job titles and roles that can do that. And so we have about 49 rows of that. And we can go through this and take a look. And a lot of our Forex application people have this same issue. And in fact, it looks like it's a lot out of that single application for this particular query. So I can do some more analysis using AI. We can do this so that none of the user information, none of the application information or anything went to the AI. It's been contained within the system, but we can do some analysis now. And when I do the AI analysis, that's where you have the option to push some of your data into the LLM so it can do that deeper, further analysis. And this is only going to push the data that were part of the output or the results from the question that we asked. So I'm going to tell it here that I'm a SOX auditor. Tell me what's going on, and well, I'll just leave it at that. All right, so it's doing a little bit of work for us here, and it's going to come back, and this should not take very long, and it should only be a few seconds, but it's going to do some deeper analysis on the results, and it's going to give us a short write-up on it, right? So here's what it's saying. So basically, as a SOX auditor, we have critical segregation of duties violation issues. The analysis identified users across the organization who possess conflicting entitlements to violate the fundamental control principle of separating transactions. I'm not going to read this all to you, but if you want to pause the video, you can see it for yourself. So we've got some people who can create up to 75 million wire transfers and have approval limits up to $20 million. So I think here's the important part. The query is examined entitlements across these applications with all of that data. And so, yeah, it's an old data set that we're using to demo this, and it kind of calls us out on that, right? Which is kind of funny. So if this were a real life situation, it would be telling us, hey, you're using a pretty old data set there, and you probably want to get a more up-to-date data set. So I probably need a more updated data set for this. But the key points are, we had 49 segregation of duties violations, a high dollar exposure violation that spanned across all organizational levels, tellers, consumers, personal bankers, senior managers, market leaders, etc. And again, a systemic entitlement provisioning role design issue rather than isolated incidents. All violations are within the application for these, and we didn't see any cross-application segregation of duties issues for this. They required immediate attention, right? So this is a really cool analysis, and we have the ability to regenerate analysis and ask other questions here. Can keep just generating more and more analysis through this interface, which gives you more and more insight the more you use it, and it's all cut and pastable into a report where you can edit that, and stitch it together to create some advanced reports or however you want to use the data. So anyway, there's that, and I think it's pretty cool one. So I'm going to bookmark this one, and it'll show up over here in my answers, so where I just bookmarked that for this project. So that's it, and it's a pretty neat solution that'll work with really any data types. And for this one, we used an IAM ecosystem, and it has all the right data sets to do this type of work, but it could be, vulnerability management or other types of data, right? So that's it, and I really appreciate you watching this video all the way to the end, and thank you. Bye.